Hey friends, welcome back to my kitchen. If you're new here, my name is Jen. I do cooking, canning, and food preservation videos every Tuesday, and sometimes I post vlogs on Friday. If that seems like the sort of content you'd be into, I hope you'll consider subscribing and sticking around. Today's video kind of continues my November series, except for this time instead of a side dish, I'm showing you an alternative to turkey. Not everybody likes turkey, and Cornish game hens are just tiny chickens and they make a really fun presentation when you put them on the table. So you're going to want to start off with them thawed and not straight out of the refrigerator. You want them to have come closer to room temperature before you do this. You're going to pick off any feathers that were left behind from the butchering process, and then you're going to want to pat them dry really well so that all of your seasonings will stick to them. Now you can cook these in a roasting pan, but I am cooking them on a rack because I have 6 hungry adults I'm cooking for, so I'm cooking 6 Cornish game hens, and I did not want them to be overcrowded. So into the center cavity of each one of your hens, you're going to add a half of a lemon and a few sprigs of fresh thyme. And that is all we are doing to the inside of this bird. This is a really simple recipe, but it is still very flavorful, especially with the addition of the lemon juice that we are going to put over the skin. So you're just going to pack that down in there. Each one of these birds gets half a lemon and a few sprigs of thyme. If you don't have any fresh thyme, just use dried. That's fine. I've been using this recipe for years, and it's loosely based off of a recipe that came from Martha Stewart's website. I did modify it to suit my family's tastes, but if you wanted her original recipe, I believe her website is marthastewartliving.com. I'm not really sure about that, but I will look it up and I will link it down below. Hers is a really great recipe. I just changed a few things to suit my family's taste. So after you get your lemons and your herbs stuffed into your birds, you're going to want about a stick of softened butter if you're only doing a few Cornish game hens. I used a stick and a half, and that was for 6 hens. To this, you're going to want to add some fresh parsley and some fresh thyme, and you're going to mix it really well. Now, I did not have fresh parsley. I ran out, so I used dried in its place. That will still work if you're using dried herbs. It's fine. Fresh is just preferred. Now I'm going to flip these birds around, and I'm going to use my fingers to very gently lift the skin off of the breasts of the bird. You will feel that the skin is firmly attached down the center breastbone, and you can very easily make a pocket down either side and just put a pat of butter in and smooth it across the breast underneath the skin. This will keep the breast from drying out. Because this is a small bird, the breasts do have a tendency to dry out even if you don't overcook them. So what this butter is going to do is it's going to imbue the herb flavor, but it's also going to keep that very delicate breast meat from drying out. And you'll notice that I'm not wearing gloves. I did wash my hands very well between each step of this preparation process so that I wasn't spreading germs and bacteria across my kitchen. I do prefer to work without gloves with impeccably clean hands because at least then I know I'm not cross-contaminating anything. Now, ideally, you would like to use butcher's twine here to truss this bird up. I do not keep butcher's twine in my kitchen. So I thought that I would show you a little trick that you can do in a pinch when you don't have butcher's twine. This will work with a duck. This will work with regular chickens, and this will also work with your Thanksgiving turkey if that is what you're doing. Rather than tying it up, you can just pull that flap of skin down near the cavity, poke a hole in it, and shove the legs through. You're basically trussing up the bird with its own skin. And I personally believe that when it's cooked, this looks nicer than a piece of string tied around the legs because you can serve it, still trussed, and you don't have to cut anything off of it so that somebody can eat it. It just looks really pretty. And I'll show you here in just a minute what they look like after I get a couple of them done. This first one, I just was fumbling because it had been so long since I cooked Cornish game hens, I couldn't remember how I do this. And then after this, it was a smooth sailing process. I just needed to refresh myself. It was really funny. I was laughing. I was hollering for a paper towel and there was nobody around. I needed to wipe that off, but it turned out it's fine. We saved it. So that is what they look like when you truss them with their own skin. At this point, I'm just going to tuck the wings in to keep the tips from burning and move on to the rest of them. Now I changed the camera angle here to try to get you in closer so it would be easier for you to see what I was doing, but I think I ended up with my hands just being in the way most of the time. My hands are larger than these birds are, so it's kind of comical. So anyhow, repeat the process. Make a little pocket under the skin over the breast meat. Insert a knob of butter and smooth it out by pressing on the skin. We're going to do that to both sides of the top of the bird, and then we're going to truss it with its own skin again. This is a really simple main dish considering that it's really not all that tedious. Yes, there's a little prep work, but it's not like cooking a turkey where you have to babysit it and baste it and make sure that the skin's not getting too dark. You just go through this short process here of getting these birds ready. You truss them up, you toss them in the oven, and simple dinner. I mean, if you were needing to do Thanksgiving in a hurry, this would definitely be the way to go. So you see here, I just put a hole in the skin that covers the cavity. I'm going to stick one leg through. I'm going to cross the other leg over and stick it back through the same hole. And there we have it. And if I'm being completely honest, it seems to me like this is an easier way to truss this up than to sit and cut pieces of string and hold the legs together and try to get them tied up. And look how neat and tidy they are. It works just fine. So we're going to go ahead and get these guys finished up so that we can get them in the oven. And the rest of this is so easy. All I'm going to do is juice a lemon over the skin of the bird. I'm going to make sure that each one gets some that covers every surface. I think I used like one whole lemon for 3 birds. These were pretty juicy lemons though, so just buy more lemons than you think you'll need because you never know until you cut one open how good they are. Now, once I make sure that every part of the Cornish hen has a good coating of lemon juice, I'm going to move on to seasoning these. Now, I kept the seasoning super simple with just salt and pepper. You can add whatever you want at this point. If you prefer to put some paprika or some whatever, these are your birds. Season them the way you want. But with having the flavorful lemon and the herb butter underneath the skin, I thought salt and pepper, keep it simple. If you do just add salt and pepper, make sure you add plenty of salt because this is a good amount of meat and the salt also helps crisp up the skin. Now, while I was preparing my hens, I had my oven preheating to 450 degrees. You're going to want to make sure that your oven is up to temp when you put your birds in. You don't want them being put into a cold oven. I'm going to leave them in for 30 minutes and then I'm going to turn the pan around to make sure that they brown evenly, and I'm going to leave them in another 20 to 30 minutes or until the internal temperature on the thickest part of the thigh reads at least 165 degrees. Cooked for poultry is 165 degrees. So just stick your meat thermometer in that thick part of the thigh, make sure it's not touching the bone, and just double check all of your birds. Once your thermometer is reading done for all of your birds, you're going to want to just set them aside and let them rest for about 10 minutes. If you cut into these immediately, all of the juices are going to run out onto your plate and then your meat is going to be dry. In fact, I let these sit for about 15 minutes before I cut one and the juices still ran out everywhere. So just keep that in mind. And you can either serve these whole or you can cut them in half and serve half. You could part these out like you would a regular hen if you like. It's all up to personal preference. But I really hope that you consider giving this a try one night for dinner or maybe for your holiday table. Until next time, friends, happy cooking.